She was 3 days from washing out of Marine boot camp. Dead last in every exercise, couldn't make a single qualifying score. Her drill sergeant had already written her discharge papers. Until a 2-star general walked into that training facility and changed everything. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If stories about hidden potential and family legacy inspire you, consider subscribing for more powerful military stories. Parris Island, South Carolina. The legendary Marine Corps recruit depot where civilians transform into Marines. Week 10 of 13-week boot camp, and Private Emma Rodriguez was failing spectacularly. At 19, she'd enlisted against her family's wishes, desperate to prove she could make something of herself. But nothing was going according to plan. "Rodriguez, you call that a pull-up?" Drill instructor Staff Sergeant Martinez barked as Emma hung helplessly from the bar, unable to complete even one proper repetition. Around her, other recruits powered through their exercises, while she struggled with the most basic requirement. Her rifle scores were abysmal, barely hitting the target, while others qualified as sharpshooters. Her physical fitness test results put her in the bottom 5% of all female recruits. Even her uniform inspections were disasters, with wrinkled shirts and improperly aligned ribbons earning her endless push-ups as punishment. Emma's bunkmate, Private Jessica Chen, tried to offer encouragement. "Don't give up, Rodriguez. Maybe you're just a late bloomer." But Emma could see the doubt in Jessica's eyes. The same doubt she saw everywhere. She didn't belong here. During evening chow, Emma sat alone picking at her meal. The other recruits had formed their tight-knit squads, bonding through shared struggles and small victories. Emma remained an outsider, the weak link everyone knew wouldn't make it to graduation. Her family background offered no military foundation to build upon. Her grandmother, Maria Rodriguez, had raised her after her parents died in a car accident when Emma was 12. Maria worked double shifts at a textile factory, never speaking about family history or military service. When Emma announced her enlistment, Maria's response was devastating. "The Rodriguez family doesn't belong in uniform. We're not fighters." Those words echoed in Emma's mind every time she failed another test. Maybe Maria was right. Maybe she'd made a terrible mistake, thinking she could become a Marine. Staff Sergeant Martinez had already called her aside twice, for counseling sessions, military speak, for preparing her for discharge. "Rodriguez, I've seen a lot of recruits come through here. Some have what it takes, others don't. You seem like a nice girl, but nice doesn't make Marines." Emma's discharge papers were already drafted, sitting in the company office. 3 more days of failed performance would trigger the administrative separation process. She'd return home to her grandmother's disappointed but unsurprised expression. Another Rodriguez who couldn't cut it. That night, lying in her narrow bunk, Emma stared at the ceiling, wondering if she should just quit now and save everyone the trouble. The other recruits' whispered conversations surrounded her, planning their upcoming graduation, discussing their first duty assignments, dreaming of earning their Eagle, Globe, and Anchor. Emma felt completely alone, unaware that her entire world was about to change. Major General Patricia Patterson's black sedan pulled through the gates of Parris Island at 0800 hours. At 55, she carried herself with the unmistakable bearing of a career Marine officer who'd earned her stars through combat leadership, not politics. Her aide-de-camp, Captain Williams, briefed her on the routine inspection schedule as they drove toward the training areas. "Ma'am, we have 17 companies currently in various phases of training. Company Delta is in their final weeks. Graduation scheduled for next Friday." General Patterson nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. This wasn't a routine inspection. She'd received a phone call 3 days earlier that had shaken her more than she cared to admit. The voice on the other end belonged to Maria Rodriguez, a woman she hadn't spoken to in 30 years. "General Patterson? This is Maria Rodriguez. I need to tell you something about my granddaughter." The conversation that followed had been painful and revelatory. Maria confessed that she'd hidden the family's military legacy from Emma, believing it would protect her from the heartbreak of military life. But watching her granddaughter struggle at boot camp through letters had broken Maria's resolve. Her grandfather was Miguel Rodriguez, Maria had whispered over the phone. Your sergeant in Vietnam, the one who saved your life in the Tet Offensive. General Patterson's hands had trembled as memories flooded back. Sergeant Miguel Rodriguez, the bravest Marine she'd ever served with, the man who'd pulled her from a burning helicopter under enemy fire, earning the Navy Cross posthumously when he was killed securing their extraction point. Now, she was walking toward the training facility, where Miguel's granddaughter was apparently failing to meet the standards he'd exemplified. The irony was almost unbearable. Ma'am? Captain Williams noticed her distraction. The company commander is waiting to brief you on their current training status. Company Commander Captain Thompson greeted General Patterson with crisp military courtesy. Ma'am, welcome to Parris Island. We're honored to have you observe our training operations. Captain, I understand you have a recruit named Rodriguez in your company. Emma Rodriguez. Thompson's expression darkened slightly. Yes, ma'am. Private Rodriguez Island. Struggling. We're currently processing her administrative separation. She hasn't met minimum standards for graduation. I'd like to observe her training, Captain. Ma'am, with respect, she's not representative of our typical Marine recruit. Her performance has been consistently below standard. General Patterson's voice carried quiet authority. Captain, I didn't ask for your assessment. I asked to observe her training. Yes, ma'am. Right away. As they walked toward the training area, General Patterson felt the weight of 30 years crushing down on her. Miguel Rodriguez had died believing his sacrifice meant something, that he was protecting freedom and defending his fellow Marines. His granddaughter was about to be discharged as unfit for service, never knowing the heroic legacy she carried. The training area buzzed with activity as recruits practiced combat maneuvers. General Patterson spotted Emma immediately, hanging back, struggling to keep up, clearly the weakest member of her squad. The physical resemblance to Miguel was unmistakable. The same dark eyes, the same determined set to her jaw, even in failure. But there was something else. As General Patterson watched Emma attempt a tactical movement exercise, she noticed the same instinctive awareness Miguel had possessed, the same way of reading terrain and positioning. It was raw, untrained, but undeniably present. The general's aide leaned close. Ma'am, the recruit appears to be having significant difficulties. General Patterson watched Emma struggle through another failed attempt at the obstacle course. Captain Williams, sometimes potential isn't immediately apparent. Sometimes it needs the right circumstances to emerge. Private Rodriguez, front and center. Emma's heart sank as Staff Sergeant Martinez called her name. She just failed another physical training test, and now a 2-star general was present to witness her humiliation. This was probably her formal discharge moment, with high-ranking witnesses to make it official. She jogged to the front of the formation, coming to attention before General Patterson. Up close, the general's presence was intimidating. Rows of ribbons on her chest told stories of combat service Emma could barely imagine. Private Rodriguez, General Patterson said, her voice carrying across the training area. What's your grandmother's name? The question caught Emma completely off guard. Ma'am, Maria Rodriguez, ma'am. And your grandfather? Emma hesitated. This was dangerous territory. Ma'am, I never knew my grandfather. My grandmother doesn't talk about him. General Patterson studied Emma's face carefully. Your grandfather was Sergeant Miguel Rodriguez. He served with me in Vietnam, 1st Battalion, the 3rd of March Inez. He was awarded the Navy Cross for extraordinary heroism in combat. The words hit Emma like a physical blow. The entire training area had gone silent, recruits and drill instructors alike straining to hear this unexpected conversation. Ma'am, my grandmother never told me. Your grandfather saved my life during the Tet Offensive, Private Rodriguez. He pulled me from a burning helicopter while under enemy fire. He died, securing our extraction point, making sure his fellow Marines got home safely. Emma felt her world tilting. Everything she thought she knew about herself was wrong. "Ma'am, why didn't she tell me?" General Patterson's voice softened slightly, but remained clear enough for everyone to hear. "Because losing him broke her heart. Because she was afraid if you knew about his heroism, you might follow in his footsteps and she might lose you too." The revelation rippled through the assembled recruits. Emma Rodriguez wasn't just another struggling recruit. She was military royalty, the granddaughter of a decorated war hero. Staff Sergeant Martinez stepped forward, his entire demeanor changed. "Ma'am, we had no idea about Private Rodriguez's family history." "Why would you?" General Patterson replied. "But now you do. The question is, what are we going to do about it?" Emma stood frozen, trying to process this information. Her grandfather was a hero. Her family did have military tradition. Everything her grandmother had told her was wrong. "Private Rodriguez," General Patterson continued, "your grandfather didn't save my life, so his granddaughter could wash out of boot camp. He died believing in something bigger than himself. The Marine Corps values of honor, courage, and commitment." Emma found her voice, though it shook. "Ma'am, I don't know how to be like him. I can't do anything right." "Can't?" General Patterson's voice sharpened. "Rodriguez, what does the Marine Corps teach us about the word can't?" Emma straightened unconsciously, muscle memory from 10 weeks of training taking over. "Ma'am, there is no can't in the Marine Corps vocabulary." "That's right. Your grandfather didn't think he couldn't save me when that helicopter went down. He didn't think he couldn't hold that position while we evacuated. He just did what needed to be done." Around them, Emma could feel the atmosphere changing. The other recruits were looking at her differently now, not as the weak link, but as someone carrying a legacy none of them had imagined. General Patterson stepped closer to Emma. "I'm going to tell you something your grandfather told me the night before he died. General, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what's right, even when you're terrified." "Are you terrified right now, Private Rodriguez?" "Yes, ma'am." "Good. Now show me what a Rodriguez can do." The final 3 weeks of boot camp transformed Emma Rodriguez from company failure to respected Marine recruit. The other recruits began seeking her out, not because she was suddenly the strongest or fastest, but because her story had become inspirational. Private Chen approached Emma during weapons maintenance. "Rodriguez, can you help me with my rifle assembly? You've gotten so good at it." Emma looked up, surprised. For 10 weeks, she'd been the one asking for help. "Sure, but I'm still learning myself." "Yeah, but you approach it differently now. Like you actually believe you can do it." That was the key difference. Emma's technical skills had improved, but more importantly, her mindset had completely changed. She no longer approached challenges expecting to fail. Instead, she tackled them with the quiet determination of someone carrying a legacy. The obstacle course that had been her nemesis became manageable. Emma would never be the fastest recruit, but she completed every obstacle with steady determination. Watching her methodically work through each challenge, Staff Sergeant Martinez made an observation to Captain Thompson. "Sir, Rodriguez reminds me of her grandfather's stories. Miguel wasn't the biggest or strongest Marine in Vietnam, but he never quit. Same DNA showing up 30 years later." Emma's influence began extending beyond her own performance. During a particularly challenging field exercise, when several recruits were struggling with map reading and navigation, Emma quietly took charge. "Okay, let's think about this systematically," she told her squad. "My grandfather would have approached this methodically." Her steady leadership helped the entire squad successfully complete the exercise. Captain Thompson, observing from a distance, made notes in his evaluation book, "Rodriguez, showing unexpected leadership potential." The culmination came during the Crucible, the 54-hour final test that transforms recruits into Marines. 3 days of minimal sleep, limited food, and constant physical and mental challenges designed to push recruits to their absolute limits. Emma's team faced their final challenge, extracting a wounded Marine across difficult terrain while under simulated enemy fire. Several recruits panicked. Others argued about tactics. Emma stepped forward. "Listen up. My grandfather earned the Navy Cross doing exactly this, extracting wounded Marines under fire. Here's how we're going to do it." Her calm authority cut through the chaos. Following her plan, they successfully completed the exercise. As they crossed the finish line, her teammates spontaneously lifted Emma onto their shoulders. Staff Sergeant Martinez approached as they celebrated. "Rodriguez, I've been doing this job for 8 years. I've never seen a transformation like yours." "Staff Sergeant, I think I was always capable. I just didn't believe it." "What changed?" Emma looked toward the flag flying over the training depot. "I learned that courage isn't something you're born with. It's something you choose, over and over again. My grandfather chose it in Vietnam. I'm choosing it now." The night before graduation, General Patterson returned to Parris Island. She found Emma in the squad bay, preparing her dress blue uniform for the ceremony. "Private Rodriguez, how do you feel?" "Ma'am, I feel like I finally understand who I'm supposed to be." "And who is that?" Emma straightened to attention. "Ma'am, I'm Miguel Rodriguez's granddaughter. I'm a United States Marine." General Patterson smiled. "Yes, you are. Your grandfather would be proud." Graduation day at Parris Island arrived with the pomp and precision that transforms civilians into Marines. Family members filled the viewing stands as 300 new Marines prepared for their Eagle, Globe, and Anchor ceremony, the moment when they officially earned the title Marine. Emma Rodriguez stood in formation, her dress blue uniform immaculate, feeling the weight of her grandfather's legacy and her own hard-earned achievement. In the family section, she spotted her grandmother Maria, who had flown from California for the ceremony. Maria Rodriguez looked older than Emma remembered, but her eyes shone with pride and something else, relief. She held a small package wrapped in tissue paper, something she'd kept hidden for 30 years. General Patterson served as the reviewing officer, an honor that made this graduation ceremony special. As she walked the ranks of new Marines, her eyes met Emma's briefly, and both women shared a moment of understanding. "Ladies and gentlemen," the ceremony officer announced, "you are no longer recruits. You have earned the title United States Marine. Wear it with honor." The crowd erupted in celebration as new Marines embraced their families. Emma found her grandmother in the chaos, and Maria immediately pulled her into a fierce hug. "Mija, I'm so sorry," Maria whispered through tears. "I was wrong to hide your grandfather from you." "Abuela, why didn't you tell me about him?" Maria's hands shook as she unwrapped the package she'd brought. Inside was a faded photograph of a young Marine in dress blues, along with a folded American flag and a Navy Cross medal. "This is your grandfather, Miguel Rodriguez. He was 22 when this picture was taken, just before he shipped out to Vietnam." Emma stared at the photograph. The resemblance was unmistakable. The same dark eyes, the same determined jawline she saw in mirrors. "He looks like me." "You look like him, Mija. Strong, brave, stubborn." Maria smiled through her tears. "I kept these hidden because losing him broke my heart. I was afraid if you knew about his heroism, you'd want to be like him. And I couldn't lose you too." Emma held the Navy Cross, feeling its weight. "Abuela, hiding this didn't protect me. It nearly made me fail. I needed to know who I came from." General Patterson approached their small family gathering. "Mrs. Rodriguez, I'm Patricia Patterson. I served with your husband in Vietnam." Maria's composure crumbled. "General Patterson, Miguel talked about you in his letters. He said you were going to be a great leader someday." "Your husband saved my life, Mrs. Rodriguez. Everything I achieved afterward was possible because of his sacrifice." "He would have been so proud of Emma," Maria said, looking at her granddaughter in her Marine uniform. General Patterson placed her hand on Emma's shoulder. Mrs. Rodriguez, Miguel is proud of Emma. Heroes don't die. They live on through the people they inspire. Your granddaughter carried his courage inside her all along. She just needed to discover it. As families began to disperse, Emma had one final conversation with Staff Sergeant Martinez. Staff Sergeant, thank you for not giving up on me. Martinez shook his head. Rodriguez, I did give up on you. I had your discharge papers ready. General Patterson saw something in you that I missed. What was that? She saw your grandfather's heart. Miguel Rodriguez never quit on his Marines, even when it cost him his life. You proved you have that same heart. Emma looked at her reflection in the window of the administration building, a United States Marine in dress blues, carrying forward a legacy she'd never known existed. 6 months later, Lance Corporal Emma Rodriguez reported to her first duty station at Camp Pendleton. In her sea bag, carefully protected, she carried her grandfather's Navy Cross and the photograph of him in dress blues. Her platoon sergeant reviewed her training records. Rodriguez, says here you had some struggles in boot camp but finished strong, that right? Yes, Sergeant. I had to learn who I was first. And who are you, Rodriguez? Emma stood tall, her voice carrying the quiet confidence of someone who had discovered their true identity. Sergeant, I'm a Rodriguez. I'm a United States Marine, and I don't quit.